What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now I'm excited to give you guys my review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I am a huge Ghostbusters fan. Huge. I've loved this franchise since I was probably about 5 years old. The first movie came out when I was 3 years old. So obviously I didn't see the first movie in theaters. But I remember watching it on home video, on VHS. I remember watching it and I was 5, maybe 6, and I loved the Ghostbusters so much that whatever they did in the movie, I wanted to be doing. If they were walking somewhere, I was walking around in circles in my living room. If they were shooting ghosts, I was pretending to be shooting ghosts with my proton pack. I wanted to mimic the Ghostbusters. And I don't know why I remember that. I was so young. I don't know why I remember that. Ghostbusters 2 I saw in the theaters. And I was young. I was like 8 years old. Maybe 9. 8 or 9. And I remember thinking it was the greatest movie ever. I have since cooled quite a bit on Ghostbusters 2, revisiting it as an adult. Hated the 2016 version. I just did. I hated it. Not because it was a reboot and not because there were women in it, but because every single man in that movie was either an idiot or villainous. There was no competent men in the movie. And I've gotten to a point where I don't think you're empowering women if you are dumbing down the men. That's the opposite of empowering women. I hated 2016. Loved Afterlife. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Thought it was great. So, what did I think of Frozen Empire? Well, it was okay. It was okay. It had a lot of stuff that I really liked. It had a lot of problems. I really liked the integration between the old Ghostbusters and the new Ghostbusters. I thought they gave Dan Aykroyd's Ray plenty to do. I liked the role that Winston played in this film, kind of as the benefactor, working on the technology side. Venkman didn't have a lot to do. It was kind of a glorious or an extended glorified cameo, but it was glorious. It was glorious. I love seeing Bill Murray playing Peter Venkman. Annie Potts, they didn't give her much to do, but that's fine. It was nice seeing her there. The new Ghostbusters, though, it feels a little too big. I think it should be Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, and the 2 kids. The problem is that the ranks of the Ghostbusters have grown so big that there's not enough for everybody to do. I feel like they did a good job with Ray and Winston, giving them something to do. I feel like they did a decent enough job with the Spangler family. They all kind of had a place in this movie, especially with the story this movie was telling. The creation of a new family, right? That's the story they're telling here. But why was Podcast there? They had nothing for him to do. He was basically Dan Aykroyd's shadow. Why was Lucky there? She had nothing to do. What makes her an expert in this kind of technology research? It just felt like she was kind of shoehorned in. I think Podcast made a little more sense. Lucky made no sense whatsoever. It just felt like, well, these 2 guys were in the last movie, so we have to put them here. Yeah, it definitely felt shoehorned. And then you've got the ever-growing cast. You've got Kumail Nanjiani. I liked his character. I did. But his character development, because there were so many people in this movie, his character development happened really, really fast. He went from swindler to doubter to expert at firebending in no time, because they had to. Patton Oswalt, could have been cut from this movie. They could have found that exposition somewhere else. I definitely just feel like there was way too many people and not enough for everybody to do. I liked Garaka. I did. I liked Garaka a lot. I thought he was menacing, thought he looked good, and the special effects in this movie were great. Just great. And I understand that the history of Ghostbusters has the main threat not showing up till the third act. First movie, Gozer, doesn't show up till the third act. Second movie, Vigo, really doesn't show up until the third act. Now, Vigo has more of a presence in the movie than pretty much any other ghost in the history of this franchise, but really doesn't show up till the third act. Ghostbusters 2016, that ghost doesn't really show up till the third act. Yeah, he's in the movie, but he doesn't become a ghost and show up and be menacing until the third act. Afterlife, Gozer, doesn't show up until the third act. So I understand Garaka not showing up to the third act because they're following the template. The problem is that the showdown didn't give us enough payoff to warrant the buildup and the weight to Garaka not showing up to the third act. We had this big buildup to Garaka. They were talking about him the whole movie. He was this huge threat that was going to come. And then when he finally comes in the third act, it's one showdown that takes him out, and it's not really that tense of a showdown. And the whole thing happened because Phoebe made a stupid mistake and she ghost walked, which I didn't care for that either. I didn't care for that whole Casper the Friendly Ghost storyline. All right. It sounds like I'm being very critical of this movie, but I still would give it a thumbs up. I still would give this a positive review because most of the ghost busting was fun. There was funny stuff in this movie. I laughed several times. The heart of this movie was there between the Spangler family. I enjoy seeing this family interact with each other. There was enough member berries to satisfy you without feeling like they were going overboard. There was enough here that I liked this movie. I just wish it would have been better than it was. So yeah, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I definitely give it a positive review. You know, I'd go 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 is positive, barely. So on my scale, 5 is an average movie. Anything above 5 is positive. Anything below 5 is negative. So for me, I'd go 6 on this. It's positive, but man, I wish it would have been better. It should have been better. But they tried to do too much, and they had too many characters without enough for them to do. Special effects were great. A lot of funny moments. It just felt too big for its britches. And that's odd because it also felt like a really small movie. So I don't know if that makes any sense. But all right, guys, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I give it a positive review. What would you give it? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, subscribe to my channel. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.